Has anybody ever doubted anything that you were taught about God or Jesus or the Catholic Church? I got two people. Okay. Okay. Gotcha. All right. Bunch of liars. All right. Well, I'm wondering if any of you noticed what I noticed in our reading from Matthew's Gospel this morning. So, you got to picture this. We have the 11 disciples or the apostles. Judas didn't make the cut. Jesus had been executed and buried, and on the following Sunday, Mary Magdalene and another Mary person goes to where Jesus was buried. There's this big earthquake. An angel comes down from the heaven and rolls the stone away from the tomb's opening. And the angel tells Mary and the other Mary that Jesus has been raised from the dead, and they should go tell the guys that they'll see him in Galilee. So on the way, Mary meets the risen Jesus, and he tells her to go tell the guys that he'll meet them in Galilee. A lot of kind of redundancy there. So the 11 guys gathered on the mountain in Galilee, and lo and behold, they see Jesus. And you know what their first response is, according to the text? Well, after first worshiping him as one would do if you encountered a dead person who'd come back to life, they doubt it. They doubt it. I mean, come on, they doubt it, okay? Now, 3 of these guys, Peter, James, and John, had previously been with Jesus when he was transfigured on another mountain, and they saw him with some other dead guys, Moses and Elijah, alive, having a chat with Jesus, and they heard God's voice from heaven tell them that Jesus is his beloved Son, and they should listen to him. And it's all there in chapter 17 of this same gospel. So later on, chapter 28, when we read about these guys, including these 3, encountering the risen Jesus, we hear that they doubt it. Yeah, that's exactly what they did, exactly what it says. So I actually find that story comforting because I myself have had my share of doubts about things spiritual. And I think maybe some of you have also experienced doubts at some point in your life. I suspect you have because I've come to learn that doubt is actually a component of the faith journey. So let me explain. I and Mary, that'd be Mary Hengen, not Mary Magdalene, are members of a core group here at the CFC. And our group recently read a book entitled Faith After Doubt by Brian McLaren. He's associated with Father Richard Rohr. McLaren postulates that there are 4 stages in faith development. 1, simplicity. 2, complexity. 3, perplexity. And 4, harmony. Simplicity, complexity, perplexity, and harmony. Now, here's how doubt plays out in these 4 stages. Stage 1, simplicity. I have no doubts. I'm a member of the one true faith. I'm saved. The others aren't. You may know that old gospel song, give me that old-time religion, give me that old-time religion. It was good for my old mother, it was good for my old father, and it's good enough for me. Simplicity. Stage 2, complexity. I begin to have questions about my faith, but it really doesn't bother me. Stage 3, perplexity. I have doubts about my faith, and I realize that there are things I don't understand or things that don't really make sense to me anymore. This troubles me. I am perplexed. Stage 4, harmony. Even though I may continue to have doubts, I am at peace with not knowing. I am connected to everyone and everything in this great mystery of life, and it is good. Now, as with all stages in life, most of us go through them. We go through them. And as we know, we all go through the stages of our human life cycle. We start out as infants, become children, adolescents, young adults, middle-aged, and finally elderly. There's this Jules Pfeiffer cartoon. I don't know if you ever saw it. You know, a cartoon that has like 3 different sections, and it shows a little baby crawling, and then a young man walking around, and then an old man walking along stooping with a cane. And under the pictures, the caption is, first we crawl, and then we stoop, getting old is pigeon poop. I think that kind of captures the life cycle stages. Well, we change and grow and become less simple and more complex physically, mentally, psychologically, and hopefully spiritually. However, in regard to our spiritual growth, folks may never grow beyond the simplicity stage in their own faith development. They might be evangelicals who believe that the only people who are saved are those who have personally accepted Jesus as their Lord and Savior. Or they may be Catholics who believe that only those who are members of the one true church, guess which that would be, okay, are worthy of heaven, okay? Now, I don't think we should be judgmental of a person who's in that stage of simplicity. That would really be arrogant and egotistical. If it works for that person and they're living a good and a loving life, what's wrong with that, okay? There's a song in the musical Camelot entitled, "What Do the Simple Folk Do?" As in the case with the lyrics of that song, simple folk live their lives without devoting too much time, too much energy, too much thought into figuring out complex matters. I think God must love them the way Jesus loved innocent, simple little children. Now, most of us probably move into the complexity stage as we age. Our simple childhood understanding of things matures. We learn about evolution and conclude that the Earth is really 13.8 billion years old, not 5,784 years old, which is what a literal understanding of the Bible would conclude. I have a fraternity brother who is a born-again evangelical Christian. He's a really good man, does a lot of good for a lot of people. And he believes that one must accept Jesus as their personal Lord and Savior and be baptized to go to heaven. But he admits, and he did this in an email to me recently, he says he doesn't know how that applies to people who have never learned about Jesus through no fault of their own. He says he guesses he'll leave that conundrum up to God. I think my friend's in that stage of complexity. Reminds me of Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind after the end of the Civil War. Everything's destroyed. She's lost everything, and she doesn't know what to do. And she says, "Fiddle-dee, I'll think about that tomorrow." But of course, she never does, you know. With increased age and education and maturation, we might begin to question the things that we learned in Catholic grade school, high school, PSR, even college. Now, we may or may not be bothered by that. And those who are bothered by that experience what psychologists call cognitive dissonance. We are perplexed by these things, and we can't make sense of them. We may hang in there or in search for answers, or we may give up and bail out. We may redouble our efforts as we try to figure these things out and make sense of it all. We read books. We join discussion groups. We meet with a spiritual director. If we're seeing a counselor for help with some kind of problem, we might bring in our spiritual struggles with our therapist. Hopefully, your therapist is capable of engaging in such a discussion. Some are, and some aren't. Yet somehow, some way, God might just use all of that to help us find peace and harmony. It can be a struggle, but it's worth it. I don't know how God engineers all of this, but I think God does. I think God enabled the apostles to cope with their doubts and work through them. Had they not, they most certainly wouldn't have devoted their lives to this man Jesus and to his way for the rest of their lives, even to the very end of their lives. How did that happen? How did they do that? Could it be that the relationship they each had with Jesus endured even after his death and his resurrection and his ascension into heaven? Did their love and devotion continue even after he was gone from their sight? I think it must have. And so did the writer of Matthew's gospel. In the very last sentence of the gospel passage you just heard, Jesus says these words, "Behold, I am with you always until the end of the age." I'm with you always. Now, it's obvious that Jesus didn't remain physically with them. So how is it that Jesus can say he's with us always? The essence of God is love. The essence of Jesus is love. The essence of each of us in the final analysis is love. And love never dies. Now, as Paul wrote in 1 Corinthians, and you know these words well, so faith, hope, and love remain. And the greatest of these is love. Love remains. And I think we intuitively know that to be true. I want you to take a moment and think of someone that you have loved, or maybe a couple people, who have died and no longer here. So just take a moment and see if you can bring somebody to mind. Someone you've loved, no longer here. Now, has the love that you had for them when they were alive died? Nope. Continues. And since love cannot exist except in the context of a relationship, does the relationship continue? I think it does. A relationship requires two parties. Love requires two parties. The one who loves and the love object. The lover and the beloved. Now think about it. When you say, I love, you need to fill in the blank. That's not a complete sentence until you add who it is or what it is that you love. You don't just love, you love something or someone. The essence of that person that you just brought to mind, that you loved in this life, is love itself. You recall in John 3:16, simple statement, what's God? God is love. It is love that animates everything, animates that person that you just thought about. And he or she continues to exist in a way that we can only understand through faith and metaphor. Those people who loved us then still love us now, albeit in a way that is beyond our comprehension, but not beyond our internal intuitive experience. My grandmother, my mother, my friend Leo, they are still with me, present to me, inside of me. I still love them, even though they have died, and I believe that they still love me. I can't rationally prove any of that, but in my heart of hearts, I know it to be true. I trust that each of you can think of someone you love who's no longer physically present, but who is still with you in your innermost being. The love between you and them has not ceased to exist. So let's return to doubt. It seems to me that love eventually eats away at doubt until doubt ceases to exist. Now, isn't that true of our normal relationships with those we love? The deeper the love, the less the doubt, the more the trust, one could say. Doubt gives way to what? To peace and to harmony. And harmony is that fourth and final stage in faith development. Harmony is heaven. Everything belongs, everything is connected. There is no separation, there is no sin, there is no division. Only peace and love remain. There's only God, and everything and everybody that exists in God's eternal loving embrace. I want you to think about something here. The peace and the harmony we feel when we are in a loving embrace with someone, a man or woman or husband or wife, a parent, a grandparent, holding a beloved child or grandchild, embracing a beloved friend. Doesn't get any better than that. That's wonderful. But as wonderful as those loving embraces are, they pale in comparison to the eternal embrace that we'll have with God and with one another and with all creation when all is completed at what? The end of the age, which were the last words in Matthew's gospel. The former we know through experience, the latter we know through faith. Harmony and peace are available to us here and now, and we're reminded of that many times in our celebration that we gather here for each Sunday. What do we say? We say, peace be with you and with your spirit. Peace I leave you, my peace I give you. We offer each other what? A sign of peace each and every Mass. And the final words that we hear at Mass are these: go in peace, glorifying the Lord by what? By your life. By your life. So maybe we can be intentional about that in this coming week. Maybe we can live our ordinary, everyday lives in harmony and in peaceful ways. We can do that if we live in love. I have no doubt about that. It's ours to do to transform those last words of our Mass into actions. Now think about it. All we have to do is decide to do it. We can learn to live in peace and harmony with God, with each other, and with all of creation if we decide to and just make an attempt. That's all God asks of us. It's like the lyrics in the song from Phantom of the Opera, love me, that's all I ask of you. Finally, if you have any doubts about God, don't worry. God doesn't have any doubts about you. So when we leave this place, let's really go in peace, glorifying the Lord by our lives.